Welcome, one and all, to the SpareTalk News Network. Your host, Rod Weaver, will be up momentarily as he gets ready for his one-on-one interactive podcast to kick things off. So, sit back and enjoy. And now, on with the show.
All right, welcome back to the show, everyone, and a special welcome back to Colleen. It's always great to have you here. Today we're diving into something I think a lot of bowling fans, especially those who follow the PBA Tour, probably wonder about, and that's the STEVE Nagy Sportsmanship Award.
Thanks for having me, Rod. It's an interesting topic for sure. You hear it mentioned constantly on telecasts, and it does make you think about what sportsmanship really means in that context.
Exactly. Now, let me preface this by saying I have absolutely nothing, zero, against any of the nominees or the award winners, past or present. I've been around bowlers my whole life, mostly on the duckpin tour, and let me tell you, there's a substantial amount of truly congenial people out there in all versions of the game. Great folks.
Oh, for sure. Bowling at its heart is a very social sport. Even at the pro level, there's a camaraderie that you don't always see in other individual sports.
Couldn't agree more. I even went to a 10-pin PBA event back around 2012, and I really, truly enjoyed watching those players interact. They were fantastic. And, you know, I've had the pleasure of speaking with Parker Bone III on the phone, and he was just great, most gracious, a real class act.
Parker is definitely one of those legends who just exudes good character. You always hear positive things about him.
Absolutely, and just to name a few others, I met David Ozio at a trade show once, and he was incredibly personable. Seriously, just a genuinely nice guy. At the same show, I got to talk with Randy Peterson, and he was absolutely fabulous, just a joy to be around. And while I didn't actually converse with Steve Cook, just watching him interact with the public, I got the strong impression that he was also just incredibly good with people.
Those personal encounters really make a difference, don't they? They show you the true colors of these athletes beyond the lanes. It sounds like you've had some really positive experiences.
Overwhelmingly positive, yeah. So again, my questioning of the STEVE Nagy Award has nothing to do with the character of any of the past winners. My take, my only suggestion, if I had to make one, would be that one bowler shouldn't win in back-to-back years. And again, this isn't a knock on them personally, but on the system itself.
That's an interesting distinction you're making. You're separating the individual from the process of selection. So your concern is more about the integrity or the perceived fairness of the award's distribution rather than the worthiness of the recipients.
Exactly. It's an award voted on by the fellow pros, right? And I can't help but wonder if sometimes there might not be a lot of deep thought that goes into the selections by these peers. You know, maybe it's just who won last year. Oh, he's a good guy. Let's just vote for him again. It's human nature to take the easy path or to go with the familiar.
I can see that. It's almost like a default vote. If someone's already recognized as a good sportsman, it's easy to keep that perception going without actively seeking out other deserving individuals, especially when you're busy competing yourself.
Right? And what really jumped out at me is how many players have won in consecutive years. You have a lot of players who won 2 years in a row, but only a small number who won twice in which they weren't back-to-back winners. I'm talking about guys like Jack Jurek, Tom Smallwood, Ryan Schaefer, Jason Queen, and Dick Ritger from way back in the 1970s. Those are the exceptions where there was a gap.
So the pattern is overwhelmingly toward consecutive wins, implying that once you're on the radar for sportsmanship, you tend to stay there for a period, which then abruptly ends.
Exactly my point. My only questioning of the system that's in place is when you have a case like Parker Bone III. Now again, I just said he's a class act, and I truly believe that. But he won the award 4 consecutive years, right? And then, suddenly, no more. I mean, I'm pretty sure Parker didn't just turn sour for the rest of his prime years. That just doesn't make sense.
That's a really strong observation. It's hard to imagine someone's character changing that dramatically year to year, especially someone as consistent and respected as Parker Bone. So if his sportsmanship didn't diminish, then what changed in the voting?
Exactly. The same applies to Gary Dickinson, who won 3 straight times. And then you have a number of others who won twice in a row, like Dave Husted and Mike Albee, and several other players. These repeat players, it just makes you scratch your head a bit.
It does, and doing a bit of digging, it's actually really rare for someone to win, then skip a year or two, and then win again. The only repeat winner who managed that, winning the award, skipping a year or two after back-to-back wins, was Johnny Gunther. He won in 1966 and 1967, and then he was a co-winner in 1970. That's a true outlier.
Wow, Johnny Gunther. See, that's what you'd expect a bit more of, right? That someone is consistently a good sportsman, but maybe other deserving people get a nod in between. It adds to the mystique almost of the award.
Absolutely. And this brings up another point I think is really important. There are likely a ton of non-winners out there who are fantastic sportsmen, genuinely great people, but they get ignored. Mostly because they're not household name players, they might not be consistently in the finals on TV, so their interactions, their good deeds, might not be as visible to the broader voting pool.
Bingo. You hit the nail right on the head. So it comes back to my original point. The peers may not put a lot of thought into their picks for best sportsman. They might just use the previous year's winner as a basis for their decision, or just vote for the biggest names they know are generally good guys. It's an easy button.
It's an unconscious bias, almost. We gravitate towards what's familiar and already validated. If Parker Bone won it 4 times in a row, he's clearly a good sportsman, so why not vote for him again? It takes more effort to think who else really stood out this year for their demeanor, for how they handled wins and losses, or how they treated newer players.
And that effort is precisely what a sportsmanship award should demand, in my opinion. It's not just about being a good bowler, it's about being a good human being on the tour. You know, I once read a quote, "Sportsmanship is not just a word, it's an action, it's a way of life." And I think it extends beyond just shaking hands after a match.
It's about carrying yourself with integrity, respecting your competitors, the officials, the fans, and even the game itself, win or lose. It's about how you respond to adversity, how you uplift others, and how you embody the best spirit of the sport. And you're right, that often happens off camera, in the quiet moments.
Absolutely. It's the small gestures, the consistent positive attitude, helping out a fellow bowler with equipment or giving encouraging words when someone's struggling. That's true sportsmanship, often unsung.
Which makes the problem of the household name even more salient. If you're not famous enough, those smaller, impactful acts might go unnoticed by the majority of voters. It becomes a popularity contest for good behavior, rather than a true assessment across the entire field.
It does, it really does. Now, I do want to acknowledge a recent positive example. Young bowler Dale Bernard, he was the 2025 winner, and he seemed to get a lot of positive feedback from the public. That's fantastic. That shows that maybe, just maybe, sometimes fresh blood can break through and the public is receptive to it.
Dale Bernard's win was definitely a breath of fresh air, and it got people talking in a good way. It proves that the voters can look beyond the usual suspects when they choose to. Maybe it was a conscious effort that year, or maybe his sportsmanship was just so undeniable that it couldn't be overlooked.
I hope it's a trend, truly, because if you're going to have an award for sportsmanship, it should genuinely reflect the best of the best across the entire tour, not just the names people write down out of habit. Perhaps they could rotate the voting body a bit, or make it a more structured process.
Or even have a committee, like other major sports awards, that takes nominations from the players but then does a deeper dive, or maybe even a public component, although that could swing too far into a pure popularity contest. It's a tricky balance.
It is, but it's a conversation worth having, I think, because an award like the STEVE Nagy Sportsmanship Award carries weight. It represents the values of the PBA, and it should be something that truly inspires and recognizes the full spectrum of good character on the lanes.
I agree wholeheartedly. It's not about taking away from past winners, but about ensuring the award's future integrity and making sure that every deserving bowler has a fair shot at being recognized for their contributions to the spirit of the game, not just their score.
Well said, Colleen. It's definitely food for thought for the PBA and for us, the fans, to really consider what we value in our athletes. Thanks so much for joining me today and for shedding some light on this often overlooked aspect of the tour.
My pleasure, Rod. It's always a lively discussion, and I appreciate you bringing up these important topics. Hopefully it sparks some reflection for everyone involved.
Here's hoping. And to all our listeners, thank you for tuning in. We'll catch you next time. Keep on bowling and keep on being good sports.
From the year 1991 in the Fort Pierce Tribune, Ozio wins back-to-back titles. ABC TV is slated to air the PBA stepladder finals of the ABC Pinole Open on Saturday from noon until 1:30 p.m. This is a one-time altered scheduling from the regular 3 to 4:30 p.m. slot. At the $175,000 Showboat Invitational last Saturday in Las Vegas, David Ozio became the third man in Professional Bowlers Association history to win the first 2 tournaments of the year. The Vidor, Texas bowler downed top-seeded Mike Miller of Albuquerque, New Mexico in the title match, 279 to 224, to earn the $34,000 top prize. Miller, who doesn't use his thumb on the first ball of each frame, earned $18,000 by finishing second. Miller was bowling in his first championship game. Ozio, who won last week's AC Delco tournament in Torrance, California, matched a feat previously accomplished by PBA Hall of Famers Dick Weber and Don Johnson. "I thought about back-to-back wins a couple of times this week," said Ozio. "To be in the elite group with Dick Weber and Don Johnson is something I'll never forget." He started the title match with consecutive spares, taking a one-pin lead through 2 frames. Ozio then rolled 10 strikes in a row. ABC's coverage of Saturday's event was interrupted by military press briefings concerning the Gulf War. From the year 1971 in the Republican, coffee clutch bowlers strike out boredom. Abandoning housework, she unlocks the car, places a satchel on the seat beside her and drives to her destination. In the parking lot, she meets some cohorts and accompanies them to the long, low, hangar-like building. There is no mystery. Like countless local women, she is one of the coffee clutch bowlers. While evening leagues for men, women, and mixed couples still prevail, the morning or afternoon women's league has become increasingly popular with women whose preschool children keep them unliberated. Rather than ponder the wonders of the self-cleaning oven, many mothers prefer to bowl. Offspring in tow, they invade bowling alleys which provide free babysitting service. Bowling is a business for many. Besides maintaining buildings, they sell equipment and give lessons, employing the most modern videotape techniques for that purpose. But for thousands of people, bowling is fun, and for some women, it is also an outlet, a change in routine, a social happening. Anybody can do it is the consensus, and it does not require any special stamina, strength, or skill. Thus, more and more women head their gift choice list with powder blue bowling ball, drilled to fit my finger. Headquartered in Columbus, Ohio, the Women's International Bowling Congress Mother Hens Women's Leagues, setting down regulations and standards for bowling and tournaments. Second in the chain of command locally is the Greater Springfield Women's Bowling Association, which embraces the area from Northampton to Westfield Wilbraham to East Longmeadow. We promote bowling and good bowling techniques, answer questions, help start new women's groups, and help foster a junior program, enumerates Mrs. and Ryder of Enfield, Connecticut. Mrs. Ryder is publicity chairman for the local organization which boasts some 4,000 members, contrasting with 100 members just 12 years ago. She attributes bowling's increasing popularity to the fact that this is something women can do whether they are coordinated or not. A former physical education teacher, she tells of an acquaintance who, when playing softball, didn't know which hand she threw with, but who became a pretty fair bowler. They get out of the house, get some exercise, have fun, she added. And there's the sociability. If you don't pin them down, women will tend to postpone the weekly outing for less enjoyable, if necessary, tasks. League membership enforces team spirit which prevails against such procrastination. Mrs. Ryder said that often a 90 average bowler will bowl mornings, then go to an evening handicap league, then to scratch. Translated, scratch means you score exactly what you bowl, with no handicap to bolster your points. Membership may change in this way, and also when women whose children reach school age go off to work. At Westfield's Town and Country Lanes, Mrs. Betty Lamies reports that 500 women bowl each week in either mixed or women's leagues. At Airway Lanes in Springfield, 13 leagues, exclusively for women, bowl each week. When local bowlers or bowling alley personnel discuss leagues, they generally refer to 10 pins. For non-bowlers, 10-pin bowling uses big balls to knock down big pins. Candlepin bowling uses a smaller ball. Candlepin bowling was on the scene before the 10-pin variety, but according to one woman, 10-pin is much easier to learn. Many who try it stay with it, although if you really enjoy candlepin, you'll stick with that. She felt that few women would bowl both ways. Airway Lanes offers both types, although the 10-pin lanes outnumber the candlepin 32-16. For those who want more than a respite from dishes and dusting, there are city, state, and local tournaments, with money to be won, places to go, people to meet. Last year's national tournament was held in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and the year before in San Diego, California. Yes, there is time to see the cities, Mrs. and Simone of Agawam said. Mrs. Simone, who has bowled in every type of tournament, hastens to say, "I am not a good bowler." With a 150 average, she is above the norm but not spectacular, a fact she feels shows bowling's universal appeal. Since tournaments group bowlers with, like, proficiency, together, each contestant has a fighting chance. The local tournament will be held in February at Airway, while the national event is scheduled for Atlanta, Georgia, among the dogwood blossoms. The peak will be reached when the U.S. welcomes 30 nations to the 7th World Tournament in Milwaukee, Wisconsin in August. 6 women will comprise this nation's team. The members will be chosen after roll-offs in June. Despite her interest in the tournaments, Mrs. Simone said she simply enjoys bowling, as do her husband and their children. Sociability is climaxed with a banquet for most leagues, topping off the 35-week season with awards and prizes. Companies and shops encourage and sometimes financially support leagues among employees, but Mrs. Simone said the majority of leagues are composed of individuals who get together to form one. Out of the sport has evolved an officially recognized charity called the Bowlers Victory Legion. After buying ambulances in World War II, the charity turned to providing extras for Veterans Administration hospitals. In November, the Greater Springfield WBA tournament raised $646 for this purpose. But physical fitness, friendship, and good deeds, notwithstanding, one woman summed up her reasons eloquently when, her voice ringing across the alley, cried, "Anything to get out of the house." From the year 1978 in the Connecticut Post, Coleman PBA victor Bill Coleman, who finished the match play format with a rush, continued his hot bowling in Saturday's nationally televised finals to win a $125,000 Professional Bowlers Association tournament at the Showboat Lanes. Coleman, of Campbell, California, who averaged .251 Friday night, maintained a .247 pace in 2 games Saturday. He defeated top-seeded Johnny Petraglia of New York 237 to 191 for his first PBA championship. The victory was worth $21,000 as well as a berth in the prestigious Firestone Tournament of Champions next April. Coleman, number 2 seed in the 5-man finals, defeated 3rd-seeded Pete McCordick of Houston, 258 to 232 to earn the shot at Petraglia, the tournament leader and number 1 seed in the finals. Against McCordick, Coleman started with 5 strikes in a row and added 3 more later in the game to easily win despite the fact that McCordick finished with 4 consecutive strikes. In the championship match, Petraglia never got on track. And even though he marked in every frame, he was unable to put together a string of strikes. In the opening match of the finals, Warren Nelson of Downey, California, defeated Frank Husband of River Grove, Illinois, 254 to 232. Nelson began the game with 3 strikes in a row and finished with 6 in a row. Husband finished with 5 consecutive strikes, but Nelson's early lead was too much. Petraglia earned $11,000 for finishing second, McCordick $7,500 for third, Nelson $6,000 for fourth, and Husband $5,000 for fifth. The next stop on the Professional Bowlers Association Winter Tour in the $100,000 Quaker State Open in Grand Prairie, Texas. From the Hartford Courant, in the year 1978, Ann Schmitter celebrates her 25th annual tourney. By John Kershaw. Back in 1934, Ann Schmitter of Glastonbury started her duckpin bowling career by subbing in a Meriden Church League. Next weekend, and one of the country's real veterans of the duckpin game, will be honored on the occasion of the 25th annual tournament in her name. Ann recalled, "I accompanied a girlfriend of mine to watch her bowl in the Meriden Church League, and when we arrived, the team was short a bowler. Someone stuck a bowling ball in my hand and told me I was subbing for the night. I hit pretty good, was made a regular on the team, and I was hooked. I have always loved the game." And almost immediately became a top-flight bowler with several tournament wins, and her performances were so outstanding that she had an annual tournament named in her honor in 1953. The first tourney was held at the Villa Rose Lanes in Windsor Locks, and in 1957, the site was moved to Glastonbury's Lucky Strike Lanes. In 1965, the Ann Schmitter tournament was changed to Glastonbury Bowl and has been held there for the past 13 years. The tourney runs next Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Born in New York City, and moved to Czechoslovakia at the age of 7 months and lived there until she was 11. Her family then moved to New Haven. That was a good many years ago, and on December 31st, 1975, and retired from the United Aircraft after 33 years. She was an assistant office supervisor. In between, and had an illustrious bowling career. In 1937, and Kastow of Meriden married John J. Schmitter and moved to the Hartford area. That fall, and joined the traveling Greater Hartford Girls Bowling League, later changed to the Girls Northern Connecticut League, between 1937 and 1940, and created a New England triple record of 435 and in 1939, and Anthony D'Addario of Meriden set a world mixed doubles duckpin record for 3 games with a total of 829. The record was rolled at the Old Worcester Lanes in Hartford. The same duo also won the Collinsville Mixed Doubles Tournament with a score of 754, and went on to win several more tournaments, including the John Derriter Ladies Event and the East Haven Ladies Open. Other victories were the Girls Northern Connecticut Event in 1959, with a score of 33 for 6 games, 2 pins shy of the world record, and won the same tourney again in 1964. In 1966, she bowled her first 203 game and repeated the feat in 1972 at Glastonbury Bowl. The 2 games are N's highest. Her top triple is 484. If I ever hit a 500 series, I'll hang up my shoes, she said laughingly. In 1968, at Hyattsville, Maryland, she placed 3rd in the U.S. Classic with a score of 1339 for 10 games, and won the Torrington Ladies Event in 1970, the Kathy Dyack Ladies Handicap in 1975 with a 6-game score of 960, and in 1976, the Plued Ladies Handicap with a 6-game score of 920 at the Laurel Lanes in Winstead. In 1972, she qualified in the 18th National All-Star Tournament with a score of 1276, and in 1976, was 16th in the state with an average of 124 for 589 games. In 1961, the Connecticut Bowling Operators Association honored, and, with a testimonial dinner for her contributions to the duckpin game. She has donated much time and effort to many charitable bowling events, and was recently elected chairman of the Duckpin Hall of Fame Committee by the National Duckpin Congress. For me, bowling has been wonderful. I have developed many valuable friendships among bowlers from all over the country. I have always believed in getting involved in sports. I've played basketball and volleyball. Mentally and physically, the body needs a relief, and, for me, bowling duckpins was the therapy during stressing times. And went on. I encourage the young to participate in sports programs, and the last few years the youth are lucky to have the National Duckpin Youth Association to get them started in a great game. I pray many of them take advantage and have the incentive to keep the wonderful game of duckpins alive. In her 43-year career, Anne lists Lorraine Gully, Ida Simmons, and Elva Brown as the best women bowlers of the past. Of course, Kathy Dyack is far and away today's best, she stated admiringly. Nick Tronsky, the late Joe Genovese, and Steve Witkowski are her choices as the leading males, along with the late Ed Fustel, who was Connecticut's top national director. Anne's highest average was 131 in the Glastonbury Mixed Doubles League in 1973, and presently she rolls in 3 leagues: the Major Mixed Doubles League, the Laurel State Ladies League, and the Tri-County Mixed League. She is averaging about 124. For a change of pace, and relaxes with many activities such as gardening, pistol shooting, boating, textile painting, sewing, traveling, and hand decorating. To commemorate the 25th and Schmitter Tournament, Archie LaRochelle, owner of the Glastonbury Bowl, has prepared a silver anniversary program which includes a picture and synopsis of the past 24 winners of the event. The largest tournament entry has totaled 226. That figure should be equaled next weekend. And please don't roll a 500 series. Stick around for many more years. From the Lincoln Journal-Star in the year 1956, I May Be Wrong, by Dick Becker. Lincoln's largest athletic event, from number of active participants, is underway today. The men's and women's city bowling tournaments will probably have over 300 teams of 5 bowlers each, in competition, to say nothing of close to 1,000 trying for individual trophies in doubles and singles. What has brought about this terrific rise in bowling interest? Where are all of these 10-pin fanatics coming from? We talked this over the other night and drew a few interesting conclusions. The biggest thing that ever happened to bowling was its climb from the gutter to dignified recreation. One which could appeal to men, women, and children from all walks of life. This transformation got started a while before the war and grew in great strides during, and just after World War II. D.L. McMurray, representative of the Brunswick Company, told me that this transformation was, to him, the big thing in the growth of bowling. That's where they got started calling the places bowling parlors, he said. The bowling alleys were cleaned up. They were turned into recreational centers where the entire family could be seen and could enjoy itself. We wanted to get the folks out of their parlors and into the bowling parlors. Then during the war we put bowling alleys into all of the military installations. That created many new bowlers. But one of the main things was that women became interested in bowling, and when they felt it was proper for them to go into bowling alleys. Television has also helped a lot. It brought bowling up to a peak in the past few years when a letdown was threatening. People who had never bowled or even been in a bowling alley suddenly became interested in the game after watching the country's best bowlers on television. The growth of bowling interest in Lincoln has certainly reflected the national trend. More alleys, much improved facilities, and a wholesome atmosphere have meant much to the bowling trade and to the sport for the public. It is a game for people from all walks of life. I bowl once a week. In the league are 2 Catholic priests, a Methodist minister, a printing executive, several railroad men, an auto parts dealer, a furniture salesman, some store clerks, government clerks, and many others. It is a crossroads, one which furnishes not only needed exercise, but much camaraderie. Lincoln is slated to get 2 more bowling alleys. They will certainly be used. For the next 2 weekends, for example, it will be next to impossible for a non-league bowler to get on the alleys. The 2 tournaments will occupy all of the lanes for at least 9 days. It is a great game. There are no favorites. Even if you are a close follower of capital city kegling, you probably can't pick a single winner in the city carnivals. From the Biddeford Sacco Journal in the year 1965, Bowling Booklet Written. A booklet, Candlepin Bowling Tour Physical Education, Camping and Recreation Programs has been written by James J. McLaughlin, Associate Professor and Director of Physical Education and Athletics at Nassen College, in which the Springvale professor sets forth his observations of bowling and discusses its place in educational activities. As McLaughlin points out, there are no special physical prerequisites. No particular type of uniform is necessary. It is coeducational, the cost compares favorably to that of some varsity sports. It is easily supervised, and one of the most attractive features of bowling as a part of educational activities is the fact that it is a carryover sport. Today, the Nassen professor informs us, because of the widespread popularity of candlepin bowling, one may find bowling lanes in small towns and cities that are within a short distance of many camps. These camps, he continues, have programmed candlepin bowling into their evening and rainy day programs. His booklet examines the game of candlepin bowling from its very beginning 75 years ago down through the years to the present day. The changes in the centers themselves, the modernization of equipment, the proper dress, even how to bowl and keep score. McLaughlin's booklet also presents procedures in teaching bowling as an assist to recreational directors and administrators. Few keglers would argue with his statement that bowling has come to be recognized as a highly desirable sport for schools, colleges, camps, and recreational programs. They have been aware of its many pleasures for a long time. For the old hand, bowling is an accepted, pleasant part of his life. For the beginner, whether 10 or 6 times 10, much fun lies ahead. From the year 1968 in the Sacramento Union, Bowling Tips, by Don Carter and Marion Ladwig. 2 good reasons for forward bend. Bending forward at the 3rd step in your delivery does 2 beneficial things. 1, it serves to counterbalance the weight of the ball being swung backward. And 2, it is the beginning of a gradual bend until it reaches a climax at the release. From the year 1991 in the Fort Pierce Tribune, Money versus Titles. Earl Anthony, the first PBA member to earn more than $1 million on the tour, has won almost twice as many titles as Marshall Holman. Yet, Anthony trails Holman by nearly $125,000 in career earnings. Holman has 21 titles and more than $1.4 million in earnings. Second on the all-time list is Mark Roth with 33 titles and more than $1.37 million in winnings. Anthony, now rolling on the senior tour, has 41 titles and $1.3 million.
From the Richmond Times-Dispatch from the year 1989. Randy Peterson of Santa Maria, California, became the first two-time winner of the Torrance, California stop on the Professional Bowlers Tour when he beat top-seeded Parker Bone III, 258 to 247 in last week's title match for a $27,000 first prize. Bone of Freehold, New Jersey, was thwarted in his second straight appearance in stepladder finals. My luck on PBA telecasts hasn't been the greatest, Bone said of his 2-6 finals match record, but eventually that will change. Peterson won 3 matches in the finals, including a 234 to 167 victory over Marshall Holman, the 1987 Bowler of the Year. Well, I think we'll wrap it up for today. Thanks again for stopping by and tuning in to our revised format of the This Day in Bowling History podcast. As usual, if you'd like to be notified of future videos when they become available and are published, feel free to hit the subscribe button in the lower right-hand corner of the videos or the YouTube screen. Have a wonderful weekend, and I look forward to seeing you on the upcoming Monday, and hopefully we'll have a few more enhancements to the podcast. So take care.